And welcome back to Revolution Radio. And we are joined by Brendan Eyre. Brendan, how you doing, man?
I'm really good, Jay. How you doing?
Pretty good. Did I say your last name right?
You did, man. It's Eyre. It's air, pronounced like AIR. And I really messed up. I should have taken a stage name because no one knows how to pronounce it. You nailed it, but most people get it wrong. Uh, they used to when I was little, people knew because they used to make people read that book Jane Eyre in school,
Oh
so
yeah,
people
yeah.
knew. And nobody reads it anymore because it's not very good. So now nobody knows how to pronounce it. So it's not a great name for a comic.
Well, and to be honest, I think I just remembered from last time because I'm pretty sure you had to tell me how to say it last time as well.
No, we all know how much you love Jane Eyre. Don't try and cover
It's just look.
for your love of that book.
It's probably the greatest book ever read. Ever wrote. That's all I'm saying. But hey, man. So you're at the Looney Bin this weekend. Um,
Yeah, I'm here. We got two shows tonight. Looking like it's going to be a pretty good night, and then two shows tomorrow. You get tickets for those on the website, Linden Wichita. I'm pumped, man. I love coming to this city. I always have a blast here, so it's been good.
Well, and we love whenever we can get a guy from the East Coast. Someone who I don't want to be mean to the Midwest or anything like that, but the East Coast, and if you can do comedy in New York, then you know what you're doing. And so yeah, we love having someone like you come down here.
Oh, thanks, man. And I'm the best of both worlds because I really am from. I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Ohio, but I've lived in New York for 10 years, so which kind of sharpens you as a comic because so many people move there to try and be a comic. Now, let me ask you this because I got into an argument about this when I was on stage in St. Louis a few months ago. Being in Wichita, do you consider Ohio the Midwest?
Oh, that's a good one. No, not really. I
Yeah,
mean,
see, it's funny. People
yeah,
don't. Officially, it is because back when they kind of designated the Midwest, the West really didn't go that far. It wasn't all the way out to California. So they officially were supposed to be part of the Midwest, but I only recently found out people don't consider Ohio part of the Midwest, which has bummed me out a little bit. That my whole life I thought I was Midwestern. Now I've got
yeah.
no identity.
I don't want to throw you out of the group or anything, which by the way is not a great group to be in. But no, it's just like geographically speaking, like okay, it's west of like New York, it's west of DC, but it's
Yeah, I
not
mean, I
really
think that was
west.
the idea. Is like when they first called it the Midwest, it was like the frontier was just past Missouri, so it was the Midwest. But that's we've since expanded the country. If any of your listeners weren't aware, and so now it's not the Midwest. I don't know. Then what am I? What am I?
So I was
I've
thinking
got no region.
they should do Mid East, right? Although that
Mid
doesn't
East.
sound great.
Yeah, I'm Iraqi. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I'm a comic without a region. So
Well, that's fine.
I'll,
I mean, I don't know. Do you watch football at all?
yeah, I'm a big Browns guy, unfortunately, which is a little bit rough.
Oh, that is rough. Although they'll do better. But yeah, I
We
mean,
say that every year, and somehow they don't. So uh,
well, I mean, oh, what is their quarterback's name? I can't remember his name. It's
Baker Mayfield.
Mayfield. That's it. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll bounce back. I think a lot of people just
Oh,
realize
I
what he was
love him.
doing.
Yeah. We'll see. Are you a Chiefs guy?
I'm a Seahawks fan, oddly enough.
Oh, okay, interesting. Are you from Seattle, or you just that kind of came by?
So, so I was a Chargers fan for the longest time, and
Okay.
they'd just been, dicking around the fan base so much. I was like, oh, screw these guys, and I kind of took just like I don't know, probably a year off of football. But in that year, I was watching college football, and I watched Russell Wilson, and I was like, whoever gets
Oh, okay.
that guy, I'm gonna be a fan of. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of go all over the place. I'm a huge football fan, as in, like in general, like. I love watching like Derrick Henry or Aaron Rodgers or whoever. I love but if I have to pick a team, it's Seattle. But anyway, I was just gonna say with
Yeah.
the whole regional breakdown, they're all messed up too. Like you know,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
for
absolutely.
some reason we don't know how to do that in this country.
Now, if any listeners that are Chiefs fans, I assume most of your listeners that like football are probably Chiefs fans, right? Or is that how Wichita goes? Or
Yeah, imagine, yeah. I mean,
uh,
or new ones.
if any of them need a obscure reason to come see me perform, Travis Kelsey, and both Travis and his brother Jason, who plays for the Eagles, they both went to my high school. I'm a little older than both of them, but Travis was the quarterback at my high school in Cleveland.
Really?
Just fantastic. Yeah, yeah, he was the quarterback, but he was such a great athlete that they transitioned in college to tight end.
Did you know him at all?
My dad, they're younger than me, so I just missed being in high school with Jason, I think. But
Hmm.
my dad coached them both in soccer when they were little. And my dad said to me once, he goes, it's a real shame about that Travis Kelsey. He really could have been a special soccer player. I go, Dad, Dad, the guy's in the NFL. I think he's doing all right.
Not to mention,
I
I don't
don't
think
think
he has
he's
the body type for a soccer player. I mean, the dude is
Well, I
massive.
mean, if he slimmed out, if he didn't lift as much, he probably could play. But it's still like, yeah, who would choose in America to be a soccer player instead of a football player?
Oh, that's an
Um,
incredibly fair point.
yeah, but yeah, they're nice guys. So everyone in Cleveland was rooting for the Chiefs or in Cleveland Heights where I grew up, they were all rooting for the Chiefs because of Travis Kelsey.
So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head because the question I was really going for was like, are they cool? Like, I don't know Travis Kelsey from no one, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was kind of a prick. Like
Yeah,
the high end jock guy in school are always kind of jerks.
yeah, obviously, I don't really know them. I never knew them personally. For everything you hear about them, is they're just two great guys, two really
That's
nice
really
guys.
cool. That's cool. Yeah. So I was even
And I went
talking.
to
Oh, go ahead.
my high school where I went. It was huge, so it was kind of like there weren't. It wasn't. It was so big that it wasn't like jocks were the bullies or anything like that. It was just so big, everyone could find their own clique. So there was no the jocks weren't really especially jerks or anything like that. So it was um I guess just because it was like 3,500 kids, but
Oh, that's
uh
cool. Yeah, that's really cool actually. Just
yeah, it
so
was
yeah, you can
good.
get lost and get your own group. But yeah, no, I was
Yeah,
even I
everyone
was
could kind of find their own crew, so nobody was really left out or anything like that. Where imagine you get at sort of a smaller high school, but
But yeah, no, on that note, I was talking to Mike Cannon recently, and he was saying like back when in high school and college, he was kind of a jerk because he was like a really good basketball player.
yeah, I know Mike well. Yeah, he was a big time basketball player. Uh, yeah, I don't. He plays that up.
Really?
He's told me that before. Well, he's told me he was a jerk before, and man, he's the nicest guy. I don't buy it.
That's what I
I
was
couldn't
gonna
imagine
say.
him.
I don't know how
I,
how he could not be because he is.
yeah, I couldn't imagine him really being a jerk. I mean, it's like me, like when I was a sports guy in high school, and I wasn't a jerk. I was a troublemaker. I was kind of I guess mischievous, but I was nice to everyone. I was just always in trouble, but never mean or anything like that.
Yeah, no, and every time I talk to you, you seem like a really good dude too. But also, I think to do your job, you kind of have to be. I don't, unless it's
Oh,
some of
I
the
could
old
I
road
could
dogs. I haven't met a
I
lot of
could
like.
tell you some guys. I could tell you some guys off air that would prove you wrong, but
Okay.
I think it's like any other job, man. There's some great guys doing it, and there's some not so great guys doing it, and I guess that's just the world. That's how it is. good people and not as good people.
I'm kind of
But yeah,
kind of surprised about it. Not like I want any names because I obviously don't want, but I mean something like I could see if you're working at a factory building lawnmowers, there's probably going to be, half the time people are just going to be frustrated that that's where they're at in life, or they're, the boss is grinding down on them. They've got, looking for the weekend, whatever. But like doing what you guys do, like I can understand. Not that it's not without its turmoil, but that kind of I would almost expect more of a camaraderie. And
well,
yeah,
oh, certainly there is a camaraderie, but I mean, we have those same stresses. They're just sort of in a different. They come out in different ways. They come out in the form of, oh, hey, that guy got picked to do this Comedy Central show, and I didn't. Stuff like that, where like, oh, I didn't get an audition for this particular show. So and so got an audition. It's the same stuff of any job where you're just kind of like, you compare yourself to your peers. And luckily, I kind of have gotten past that point in my career where I'm kind of like, my focus is make sure I'm funny every night. Go out there, do my job. Don't compare myself to anyone except myself. I need to get funnier every year. As long as that's happening, then I'm happy. But yeah, we have the same frustrations as any other job. I think they're just a little, they take a different form.
well, and to be fair to you, you've been on the top of your game for a while. Like every time something comes out, you're just killing it. So, I mean, that mentality must be working for you. But you know, to kind of counter that though, I agree. Like, there's things like I think it's called The Degenerates, which is a Netflix thing, and it just came
Hmm.
out recently. And Bob Kelly's on it, Jim Norton. I can't remember the other people off the top of my head, but it's like, yeah, and I love those guys. But those guys have so many options. Why don't we see a Brandon Eyre, a Mike Cannon, or for God's sakes, like a Joe List or Mark Normand? Like, where's that
Yeah, well, I mean,
space for these great comics?
Norman's got a lot out there, and
He does, yeah.
Joe's got it. But like me and Mike, those are those are the kind of things that they do. It does get a little frustrating where you're like, okay, why am I not in that discussion? But I think all you can do, it's like any other job. All you can do is be good at the job and let that speak for itself, and that's it's working out for me. I'm sure I'd love a Netflix special, I think, or some kind of special. I think that'll happen at some point. But in the meantime, I'm making a good living doing what I love, so I don't have too much to complain about. It's having fun doing it.
What's your reaction when you do see like a Netflix, or I think Amazon is starting to do stand-ups, and there are people who aren't really even stand-ups.
Oh, that I don't mind because I guess when I was younger, that would bother me a little bit when I was kind of earlier in my career. But then you realize, you just have to realize it's a business. It's just a business. It's like any other business. The industry, the people who are picking who goes on TV, they're not necessarily always concerned with who's the funniest. They might be concerned with who's the best looking, who could possibly be the next movie star, who could we possibly groom into a superstar, that kind of thing. So it's like, I don't worry about it anymore. I don't let it get under my skin, and I don't begrudge anyone else their success. For instance, like take Steve-O from Jackass.
Yes, yeah.
That guy sells out comedy clubs. He'll sell out the whole week, right? And there's some comics I think that rubs the wrong way because Steve-O's not a comic.
No.
But here's the thing: I've watched Steve-O's act because I got into town early for a gig, and he happened to be finishing his gig, and I went and I watched him, and he gives his crowd exactly what they want. He's not pretending to be a comic. He goes up there, he tells some funny stories about behind the scenes stuff from Jackass, and then he does some crazy stunts, like stapling stuff to his body and
Jesus
squeezing
Christ.
lemons in his eyes and stuff. And it's like that's exactly the show his crowd wants. So how can you get mad when people want to buy a ticket to see to see something and they get exactly what they wanted. There's nothing wrong with that to me. There's no reason that guy shouldn't be able to make a living and a good living doing that because he's fantastic at it, and he doesn't claim to be a stand-up comedian.
That's a fair point, and you're right. I think that would be really difficult to be in a profession. Just to quickly jump back to football, I've never heard someone say, "Well, Aaron Rodgers would be the best quarterback in the league, but he doesn't have the right looks." So from a
Yeah, yeah.
comedian, that
Well,
would be so difficult.
it is, but here's the thing, man. Here's the thing, and I tell this to younger comedians a lot. If you made the decision, like I did, like other comedians did, if you made the decision to get into show business and then get mad because you got passed over for something that went to a hot young woman, then you're an idiot.
It's a
Because
fair point.
that's what show business is, like we made the decision to be in this business. So, you have to take what comes with that. This is show business. They know what sells. So, to get mad at it or I agree with you. The NFL, it's professional sports are purely, almost purely a meritocracy. Because the only goal is to win, so you want the best guys out there, and it's kind of the same thing with show business, but the only goal is to sell tickets and to make money,
No,
and
that's a completely fair point. I mean,
so it doesn't necessarily, and the funniest person isn't always the person that sells the most tickets or makes the most money, and that's not the goal of the business. It's my goal as the entertainer, and I like the guys who that is their goal. But for the actual business side of it, that's not always the goal. So I'm pretty laid back about the whole thing.
uh,
I just give my audiences the best show I can. I think it's a fun show, and everything else takes care of itself.
one other thing on being a comedian, um, do you often second guess yourself if you're going to put something on social media? Because it seems like comedians, for some reason, are the biggest target. I mean, maybe right now, um, you're doing a lot of, road shows and stuff like that, but who knows, next month you might be on SNL and they might find old
Yeah.
tweets and there you go. Like, is that something you think about quite a bit when you're posting?
No, no, because for me, like, luckily, my sort of sense of humor is not very. I like things that are silly. I like the absurd. I like observations about life. So I'm not. I don't really have to worry about that too much because most of the stuff that I find funny isn't really stuff that would likely ever get me in trouble. So I don't personally really have to worry about that, just because and I'm not to say I'm some squeaky clean comedian. I mean, I have a pretty big chunk of my act that's fairly dirty, um, but I don't really I don't really find that much funny in like politics or racial stuff. That's just not never. I've never been drawn to really making jokes about that kind of stuff. So I don't have to worry about that. I mean, I've had friends that have certainly been affected by that, and sometimes I think fairly and sometimes unfairly. Um, yeah, it's just an interesting evolution of the everything is public now and everything kind of lasts forever. So you just yeah, I luckily really don't do much that would I think ever be held against me.
No, and to be fair to that, or to speak to that, I agree, and it's why I enjoy your comedy, and I'm not gonna say style, but the same kind of New York younger guys, you, Joe, Mike, you guys all do have like incredibly funny without having to be super edgy, if that
Yeah, and
makes sense.
it's funny. It's like I'm not afraid of it. I just to me that's not what I think is funny, and a comedian should be doing what's funny to them. Like, I'm not a Trump guy. But sometimes I'll have people say, "Well, why aren't you out there making fun of Trump?" And it's like, well, because I don't. It's not funny to me. I don't care. I would rather connect with a Trump guy in the audience, and we can share a laugh over some shared life experience, and realize, hey, we may disagree politically, but we're pretty much mostly all the same. Like that. To me, that's what's fun about doing comedy. And so whenever someone's like, "Well, why aren't you talking about this? Or why aren't you talking about that?" I mean, the answer is always because it's not funny to me. I just I want to tell jokes. I want to tell jokes about what I want to talk about, and sometimes that's you know the Domino's pizza tracker. Sometimes that's my dad growing up. Sometimes that's I don't know. Sometimes that's weed. Sometimes, I mean, any number of things. But I talk about what's funny to me. So
No, the
it just
unit
happens not to be edgy.
the unity in comedy, I think, is probably one of the best kept secrets about it in a way, to your average outsider. But yeah, and the way that, like I said, you're incredibly funny. You keep it really fresh, um, really quick in a lot of ways, but without you don't have to hurt someone's feelings essentially. You don't have to get into the political mesh. And I think that's incredibly difficult to do in a lot of ways because we all kind of grew up with comedy being you're kind of in a lot of ways bashing on your friends like and then you'd kind of
Right.
work from there. And so for you to have that a different outlook on it is it's amazing honestly.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it really is just what I think is funny. When I go sit down to write, it's what I think is funny. If I all of a sudden tomorrow started writing and finding a bunch of political stuff funny, I'd do it. But that's never really been my wheelhouse. What I like to joke about. It's just not. It's never kind of occurred to me in my writing to write jokes about that sort of stuff. I just it doesn't mean I don't care about the country or I don't care about what's going on. I just in my act, in my job, I don't really bring it up.
It,
And
this coming from a non-Trump guy too, I wish a lot more people would not bring it up at work, to be honest. I mean, it does only cause so much problems.
well, not only that, to me there's this, I do get annoyed. I get annoyed because there's comedians in New York who don't get out on the road, who don't, these who kind of have this um who have this mentality that, oh, if you like Trump, you're an idiot, and I've met enough people that I know that's not true. Period. It's just not. There's many reasons why people support Trump. They have their own reasons, and I disagree with them, but I respect them. And like I think what's so cool about comedy is that we can all sit in this same room and laugh at the same stuff. And I think that does a hell of a lot more for kind of the country that's so divided right now than if I were to just go up there and bash uh bash someone's opinions. Like I think it's a way more. I think people with different political opinions, I think we tend to have a lot more in common than we think. And I love to just get a room full of people who may or may not be, agree with some things I agree with, and we're all laughing at the same stuff, and we all realize, hey, that stuff doesn't define us as people. We can still be friends. We can still talk. We can still have a conversation, and that's important to me. And
But that's
so I
yeah, that's so
go ahead.
true. Oh, I was just gonna say you perfectly uh captured that there because yeah, I mean a majority of this show is very political, and I'm actually like a progressive Bernie Sanders supporter, but the crossover I have with Trump supporters or what they call establishment Democrats, we can all sit there and talk and agree on a lot of things, and you're 100% right. There's much more in common than what a lot of news networks would make us believe.
Yeah, there's no. I feel bad, and this is funny because this is a interview about comedy shows, but we're
Right.
getting into politics. But I feel bad. I feel like there's not very much room anymore for civil discussion. It's all everything's black or white now. You have to be one side or the other, and you basically have to yell at each other. And there's no room to find common ground and start from there and just talk and figure things out. And it just doesn't really happen much anymore. And so I like you go to a comedy show, you put all that aside for a second. You just sit there and you laugh with a bunch of strangers in a room and you bond over common things you relate to. And that to me that's beautiful. That's just this I feel blessed to have that job to be able to do that. And that's the important part of it to me. And I shouldn't make it sound grander than it is. I mean, I'm mostly just up there telling dumb jokes, but I like it.
No, but it is because you're right. When I'm talking to people from, the other side of the aisle, I usually start off by asking them like, "Have you seen the new Chappelle special?" And
Yeah.
that's where we start off on, and it does lead to a better conversation. So yeah, comedy in a lot of ways it marries a lot of people that wouldn't think that it would. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking on the comedy real quick before I let you go, um, do you have a podcast or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. I host the Rad Dude Cast with Anthony DeVito and Greg Stone. You can get that on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts. That's the Rad Dude Cast, and then you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Airbud. That's EYREBUD. That was a pun that never works because no one knows how to pronounce my name. So, uh, but you can. I have a website, but I'm been more and more just posting shows on Instagram because I find that's where more people go these days.
Do you do the? Are you on YouTube, by the way?
I am. I'm starting to post some more stuff on there. You can just search Brendan Eyre and that'll come up. But I don't have a ton on there right now.
I
There's a
meant
few
like
little
your
things.
podcast. I apologize. Is your podcast on YouTube?
Yeah. My pod. We do put the episodes on YouTube too. If you search Rad Dudecast on YouTube, you'll find the podcast on there.
Yeah, because I was really just trying to get you to plug it because I actually listen to it quite a bit. And I think it's a great
Oh, thanks, man.
podcast. And um,
Yeah, well, it's funny what you mentioned earlier in the show about ever worrying about, quote, being canceled or whatever you want to call it. If that ever happened, it would be because of the Rad Dude cast because it's very tongue in cheek what we're doing on there, and we say some pretty inappropriate stuff on that podcast, but it's kind of satire and it's all improv and satire and stuff like that. So if anyone ever got mad at me or didn't give me a job, it would be because of that podcast. But I've already all three of us have already decided we're never going to apologize because it's we do it with kind hearts and we do it in the spirit of fun and it's all satire. And so if someone doesn't give me a job because of that podcast, that's fine, but I'm not apologizing. So uh,
well, and it's
that's
pretty
my stand.
apparent. I mean, it's at least it is to me that it's satire. I
Yeah,
would
I mean
hope
it's
people would.
goofy. It's just goofy. Like Greg will do, Greg will talk about Asians while his wife is Asian, and it's like what he's clearly just trying to be. He's trying to kind of pretend he's one of these insightful, uh, or not insightful, inciting guys, and it's like he doesn't care. He's not a racist guy. So yeah, it's fun, man. We've been doing that podcast a long time, and we have a blast doing it.
Do
So
you have certain days that episodes are dropped?
as often as possible, they're dropped Tuesdays, and then If you like the podcast, you can get an extra episode a week by going to patreon.com/raddudecast. And those are for a $5 a month pledge, you get an extra episode every Thursday. So yeah, but we usually try and do Tuesdays. We're in a hectic period at the moment because we're all three sort of scattered across the country doing shows. So I'm not on for a few weeks. I'm off because we just couldn't get enough in the can before I left. So there's some guest hosts on there, but I've been putting up solo recap episodes that the fans are enjoying. So that was good.
Well, and I will say, to any of my listeners, as a complete like breath of fresh air, it's worth it to go to the Patreon, get pay it's $5, Rad Dudecast. It's completely worth it. Takes you out of that, like what we were just talking about, the politics, the coronavirus, the world's gonna end, whatever. Sit down for like an hour and have a really good laugh. It's amazing at just taking your mind off all of that, and it's worth the $5 a month, and helps you
Yeah,
guys
and
create
go
more
go back.
content.
If you're checking it out for the first time, go back and at least listen to a couple episodes ago. Listen to one I'm on. Don't listen to the ones just coming out first because I'm not on them. So listen to me first, and then you can listen to the most recent one.
It's definitely yeah, worth it to find the
Yeah,
ones with you on it. Anyway, Instagram information again, please, sir.
it's Airbud, EYREBUD, and that's my Instagram and my Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram, I would say. But yeah, you can follow me there. You can go to brendaneyre.com to see dates. I'm trying to be better about keeping that site updated. There's some clips on there, I think. Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for letting me call
Awesome.
in, man.
And everyone who's in the area, it's www.wichita.loonybin.com. You can find all the times for the shows. There's two tonight, two tomorrow night. You've got to get your butt in there. You don't want to miss this guy. Probably be another year
Yeah, and
before we see
I
him
think they're
again. It's worth it.
close to selling out on maybe on the first show. So
Oh,
call now. Give them a call now and make those reservations. It's a fun show. The middle act is a guy from LA who I just met who's really funny, and the host is great. She's from LA. She's originally from Germany, but she's LA based also. So it's a fun show all around. It's a good week.
awesome, awesome. I'm gonna have to add you on Instagram too, my friend, because I would love to do this even when you're you're off touring somewhere else. It's always great to
Yeah,
catch up with you,
anytime,
man.
man.
But
Yeah, anytime. I love doing this. I forgot how fun this was from last year, a little over a year when we did it the last time. So yeah, anytime, man.
thank you so much, man. You comics, whenever I talk to a lot of you guys say that same thing, and that means a lot to me because I try not to do the same stuff that I hear everyone else interview people on. It gets redundant, I believe.
Well, the thing that happens as a comic is like you go on radio, you go on the local news, and they want you to do your bits. They want you to do your jokes, which I have no problem doing that. I know that helps sell tickets to the shows, and that's fine. But it is nice to talk to somebody who actually kind of wants to interview you and talk to you and just ask questions other than, hey, let me set you up for a bit and you go into your joke. So it's fun. That I think most comics prefer that to doing our jokes, because it's always a little awkward doing your jokes to one person.
Well, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I have far more respect for guys like you who are able to sit down and be interviewed. There is a lot, and I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of comics who've been through the loony bin they're texting me while we're doing the interview, and they're like, "You need to ask me this question," and I won't do it. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
I
going to
mean,
set you up, man. They want to know who you are.
right, and I get that. I think some guys are so used to like you got to tell your bits to sell tickets to the shows, and maybe that's right. But I don't care. I just would rather talk to you.
Uh,
So,
I
you
definitely
know,
appreciate that, man. Well, anyway, Brandon, you have a great show tonight, man, and I'm gonna try to come see you tomorrow. Nothing else, and
oh,
everyone else
great.
listening, you need to get your butts out there and go check him out. He's awesome.
Oh,
Brandon, you have a
thanks so much, man. Thanks for
great
having me
show,
on.
man. Thanks a lot for calling in, bro. Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye.